Hi, this is Brian Maddox, and welcome to another episode of The Consulting Trap. With me today is Angie Wolfe with Ideas at Dawn. Welcome, Angie.
Hi, Brian.
Angie, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about what you're up to and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, so Angie Wolfe, I am the owner of Ideas at Dawn, marketing consultants. We help engineering and construction firms win more work without adding on more payroll. I started my gig or business, I should say. It's not a gig anymore. Started as a side gig like most entrepreneurs, but started it after 17 years in the corporate industry. So I did the exact same thing in corporate as what I'm doing today, helping similar clients, same clients, helping them with their proposal process, the business development, and their get work cycle so they can grow while supporting a small business at the same time.
There must be some nuances between, how we get business as maybe independent consultants and how the government clients or how the larger entities like that get those clients. You've built an entire business around that niche, right?
Yep.
So what are some of the key differences? I mean, I know we're going to get into a little bit more about how you grew your business in a second, but right away, some of our consultants that are listening are going to go, wow, that's a niche I hadn't really explored. Can you give us like a lay of the land there?
Yeah, so it is very, I won't say technical focused because there are a lot of creative people. So from the scope of a team that I work with, either within my clients or within even my own team, is we have writers. I have a journalism background, so tend to be the people who do, I would say, the best. If you have a marketing background, you might struggle a little bit more. It's very writing intensive, because what we do is we take an RFP from a client. This could be a 200-page document, and they give us requirements that are usually about sometimes 6 to 20 pages, and they want a response back to everything, and usually 5 to 20 pages. So it just depends. So all these requirements that they have, we are responding to them and helping my clients respond, demonstrating their value, demonstrating their expertise, demonstrating how their people know the best, and also how they know the client. So getting to know the client, both as a business owner, getting to know my clients and them getting to know theirs. So writers, editors as well. So someone who can do one voice edits, someone, who else? Yeah, that's about it for the editors. They just have to like to read. and the challenge is it can be very technical content, but that's okay. Because it still should be understandable. Our goal is always that whoever's reading it understands it, whether they have a technical background or not. So if you don't understand it as someone with no background, we need to revise the content and ask more questions and dumb it down a little. Sometimes we are at 12th grade level writing. Our goal is to get down to like 8th grade. We are not shooting for 3rd grade. This is not advertising and marketing, but we still need, knowing most of our clients have college education and know a little bit about what we do. Sometimes we get procurement people and they don't. So that's a really core thing about the editing piece. Then we have graphic designers, proposal managers, which are, I won't say project managers on steroids. We understand the proposal process, but also manage projects. So that's kind of the core team. Then we work with our sales people. We work with our business development. We work with capture management. So that's kind of, and nearly everybody, I should say, it's getting a little bit better. Everybody accidentally ends up in this field when it comes to proposals. I accidentally ended up here as an intern with with a construction company, but it was on the marketing side and communication side, and we kind of just fall into it. There are a few colleges grooming people to do this as a real job, but otherwise it's all by accident.
That is super interesting. And it sounds like a healthy constellation of folks that you have to have involved to make it work. So that leads us to the natural next question. How did you go from, lowly intern, as it were, all the way through the sort of corporate empire to landing your own clients And then even more so, then how did you build that constellation to get to the next level?
For me, my big thing was always taking the next opportunity. So I started my career journey as an intern. It was corporate communications. It was working on the company's magazine. It was straight out of school. I'm like, whatever. It's an internship, even though I just spent 4 years in college, right? Not always the greatest thing, or at least from a mindset point of view. But it just happened to be the same group that also did proposals for the company. And at this point, almost 20 years ago, proposals were focused on the federal industry and the federal market. So this would be your federal government. For us, it was in construction. It was the Army Corps of Engineers, which helps with a lot of things you might not realize in your own backyard. But then it was just willing and able to take on new opportunities. I did that for a year and a half, went to Denver for another year or so, went to California, went back to Denver, went to New Mexico. So just networking within the side of the company so I could take on new opportunities and continue to grow and meeting new people and doing different things. So whether that was proposals focused, business development more focused, marketing. So I had background in the education building side to out in California, we were doing a lot more water. California at that time wasn't doing a lot of proposals. So it was more bids and quals, but it was business development then. So that's when I honed in on my business development skills, networking with other competitors, networking with clients, and then realized, okay, I'm really good at the writing piece. I'm really good at the proposal management. Let's hone in now that I have a bigger background and understand a little bit more of the process to get there. So for me, it was always taking the next opportunity, willing and able to move, being flexible with that. And then also knowing that I'm continuing to learn and adding value. And so that was kind of the corporate career. Took some more stints outside of proposals within Kiewit to help, really. And I wanted a break. Proposals and marketing and business development and that side of the business is very exhausting and long hours. So I needed a break. We were starting a family. I'm like, okay, time out. I need something a little bit more predictable. And eventually became a lot more unpredictable. I was on the road, away from the family every week. I would be home on the weekends, and that was enough at that point as well. And that's when I started my business on the side. We wanted to save up money, wanted to find some clients, like all of those things, and being able to leverage my network that I built up the past 15 years. I wasn't great on the LinkedIn side, but I still had a bunch of ex-Kiewit people and people I met from other companies that I leveraged.
So I imagine you leveraged them to get your first couple clients. How did that go?
Yeah, it was awesome, actually. It worked out perfect. It was my old boss in California, a coworker I had in the West Coast as well. So these were all people that knew me and knew what work I could do, and were at different firms. So those are the people I went to first. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Don't tell anybody yet, but I can help you. I'm doing this on the side, building up my network, and it felt too easy. But
that may be the first time I've ever heard that. That's awesome.
Great. It's gotten a lot harder now.
No, I wasn't like super excited that it was going to get harder. I was more like, wow, this is great, man. Somebody who had a almost fell into a business experience. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was. Now the hard part wasn't the clients. The hard part was doing a full-time job and then doing the side gig on the side and helping with the clients on the side and doing that in late nights. And now that I look back at it, I'm like, how the heck did I do that? Like, I'm exhausted. I want to be in bed by 9. And it was just, but it was dedication that you have to put in those early days to grow a network, grow a clients, save some money so you can be comfortable to be like, done, adios, and off we went.
Yeah, yeah. So when you got past the referral stage of the business, how did you get from like the independent moonlighter? You made the break, right? Which is probably scary.
Yeah.
How did you make the second break? Because there's always two, right? The first one is I'm now on my own. The second one is now I need to stop doing it and start managing it.
Yes. For me, it was kind of happened by chance, a little bit by luck, by accident. So I left corporate in June. So this was all during COVID. um, it actually worked out. It was perfect for us because, right, everyone's remote, therefore this is perfect.
I don't have to travel anymore. Yeah.
Well, don't have to travel, but also the construction industry didn't take a big, like, we weren't all remote. Like, we were still going into the office. We just had reduced numbers. So, because we were essential service and a little bit different even than the engineering side of things. Construction was essential, and I was on a project and we were considered essential, and we were all ramping back up to go back down to the office. And I'm like, no more. But my other clients and clients I had worked for that previous year were most of them were still remote. Like some were still in the office, but just the concept of being remote had wasn't a new thing anymore. It wasn't something I had to sell. And that was the beauty of it. And reached out to some other people, and they had a big project coming up. So it was another person in my network, warm network, person I knew, person who knew me, I had worked with before, and they had a big proposal coming up. I was adamant when I left that I did not want a large team. I did not want to manage people. I just wanted just to do my own thing. No kidding. 3 months into it, I was managing like a 6-person team. It was just like, I know, right? It was not what I originally wanted. It worked out perfect. It was a big proposal. Yeah, managing, it was like 6 people. It was how long? July to January. We were traveling. It was proposal to interview. It was everything that I'm like, no, I don't want to do that originally. But it worked out perfect. And that's what actually springboarded me into continuing bigger projects and continuing with having a team to support me. So then I'm not the only one doing it. And we haven't changed since. If anything, we've taken on more clients and have more people on my bench to help clients and have continued to grow that. But yeah, it was interesting that something I didn't want to do. And
Yeah, right. I mean, isn't that always the way though? I remember for a long time going, I want to be successful in the world based on merit, not on the relationships. And then that didn't work out so well. Not because I wasn't capable of having quality outcomes, but rather you have to have other people involved. There's no other way. So it's really interesting the learnings you come across when you do this kind of thing, and in many cases the things you avoid are the exact things that actually are going to move you forward. So
yeah.
so that's cool that you had that experience. So now that you're like the firm you never expected in the way you never expected, how's Idea at Dawn getting clients now?
Some of it is still through referrals, but just a year ago. So a year ago is when, and I don't know what happened, but a year ago I hired someone to write my emails. I hired a social media manager. I hired a firm to do LinkedIn marketing for me and to do cold emails. So I don't remember what happened a year ago, but a lot of things changed in bringing on a team. I already had an operations manager on board. She was helping more on the proposal side, but I changed her role to help me with my marketing and my business. And yeah, so now it's really, I would call it warm outreach. So in addition to reaching out to people on LinkedIn, connecting with them, providing value on LinkedIn, we are doing, so I read Grant Cardone's 10X Life, what is it? 10X rule book. Right? Be different from other people in the industry, other competition. And so we try to post like 7 times a day, 10 times a day. So just being visible, providing value, that is one thing that we try to focus on, even though people might not need us now, continuing to demonstrate expertise and that leadership. So we've been doing that for a year. We are seeing a lot of dividends now on that from LinkedIn, with still connecting with people and trying to use my network there. In addition to that value with just posting content in an email newsletter now and a LinkedIn newsletter, is we do free monthly webinars just to bring in other experts in the industry and have them teach my audience and other people similar things of what they can do in the proposal industry. So it really has been a little bit of trial and error, of course. And we're actually looking at changing some things up now, going less cold emails and really honing in on LinkedIn and providing value there. And so that's been the change. It's really, and still referrals from my current clients who talk to other people and hear about me, and still leveraging my warm audience that I still met and know,
Right.
and continuing to use them. But it's becoming more referral based. And in addition to the free webinars, I also speak at conferences and do free webinars for other associations in this field and industry. There's 2 big ones. So continue to just get visible, and work comes.
And go be on podcasts.
Yes.
So,
yes, and hang out with Brian and
there we go.
And others. Yes.
So I want to thank you for being on the show. And one of the things that I think would be helpful, since you are working in that the federal and the government RFP space, is telling our listeners kind of who would be a great person to reach out to you, who you might be able to help the most, and how they should reach out to you.
Yeah. So my target audience, I say, is who I go after on LinkedIn and target are medium to large, to call it extra large, engineering and construction firms. So it's usually someone that already is doing this as part of the process. They know what proposals are. They have some sort of process, whether it's dysfunctional or not. Big firms. So I had a conversation which I thought, I guess maybe they're just a medium-sized engineering firm. And I didn't realize they were as dysfunctional as they are. Like, you just don't realize it, right? Pull the curtain back and you're like, oh, I can really help you. I thought you had your stuff together. So yeah, engineering, construction firms focusing in the civil construction space, civil, oil, gas, and chemical, federal. We don't do residential. We don't do as much in the commercial building side. So something that's usually pretty technical and pretty hard to explain potentially. Also work on the water side. So whether that's a treatment plant, a new one, which was new, it was a referral from one of my clients, is shipbuilding. So these are like tugs to help with oil, gas, and chemical with offshore things, like wind turbines and building things offshore. There's companies that actually build boats to do these things. And so working with them to provide that service. Let's see what else. Where you can find me, LinkedIn is probably the best place, or my website, which is ideas@dawn.com. And so LinkedIn is Angie Wolfe. You should be able to find me. Or I just found out from one of my marketing consultants, if you Google Ideas at Dawn, we are on the first page. So that's
awesome.
Great. And you can find us that way. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So what were your 3 biggest takeaways as you were growing your business?
Network, which I would have done a lot more. And I was having a coaching call with one of my leadership students. Network, even when you're in corporate, you just never know. You never know when you might decide to do something different. I, at one point, or multiple points within that process, decided that LinkedIn was too much time. I didn't need a network. I'm going to be here forever. I wish I would have done that a lot more and connected with people that were not only within the side of the company, but we worked with a lot of teaming partners. And that is also how I'm getting clients these days, is the people I worked with outside of that. So networking, continuing to learn. That is always something that I am a learner at my core. So whether that's learning about what I am writing about and asking questions, or learning more about my profession, or learning more about being a better human or a professional or a business owner, but continuing to learn and finding whatever way works best for you. Whether that is books, audio, podcasts, whatever trainings, but continuing to learn. And then the third thing is take chances. I don't think I'm a risk taker, but at least not my personal life, but starting a business, which I didn't realize some people were like really scared about. I've helped 2 people start businesses. Like, I had to push them over the cliff. I'm like, just do it. Like, I'm giving you work. It was shocking to me because I guess for me, it wasn't. For me, that wasn't a risk. So take risks. I took risks throughout my career. When I was an intern, to taking on new roles, to moving to towns I've never been to moving outside of the state in, 2 states that I lived in previously, where I grew up and where I went to college. So take risks, and have fun while you're doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks again for being on our show today. Definitely want to check in with you in a couple of weeks, months, years, find out how things are going for you. And when we see your name on the Forbes 100, then we'll definitely know you've got it figured out and you got the luck going for you and the ambition. So thanks again for your time. Appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Consulting Trap. If you have suggestions for future episodes or would like to be a guest on our show, please send me an email at brian@podcastchef.com. That's BRIAN at PODCASTCHEF.com. Before we go, we'd like to thank the sponsor of our show, Podcast Chef. Podcast Chef helps turn ordinary podcasting into a revenue-generating lead magnet for your consulting business. Our Podcasting Done For You service takes away the headache of starting up and running your own podcast. Reach out now to take advantage of our 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit us at podcastchef.com to find out how our team of experts can help you leverage podcasting to take your business to the next level.